Alright guys, let's get right into it. Let's attack this J. Cole. Okay, I didn't mean attack. I mean, let's address this J. Cole record so that I can move on with my listening adventures with music. Anywho, J. Cole is kind of a strange entity in the music world, considering he's passionately loved by his fan base and kind of passionately hated by music nerds who I, associate with because I am one of them. And I think that this combination kind of makes it a little bit difficult to go into listening to a J. Cole project unbiased, which, is kind of a problem. Like, I don't think that people give him enough of a chance sometimes because they trust the people that say he has nothing to offer, which, I mean, I know that, like people who review music, like YouTube reviewers or people with blogs or whatever, like, I don't doubt the fact that you guys are all, like, listening to this album thoroughly and giving it a shot, but I think that, like, just the common, like, people a lot of the time just either are very hot or very cold on J. Cole. They don't really, like, actually, like, sit down and, like, try to digest everything that he has to offer, which is obviously harmful, and, yeah, whatever, but I just basically want to start this review off saying, like, be fair, just, like, think, be logical, don't be an asshole, like with any artist like that, just, like, give everything a fair shot. Yeah, J. Cole is not the artist to go to, like, rate your music, for example, to get information on, because, all of the comments are gonna look like this. There was something pretty genuine and down to earth about his 2014 project, 2014 Forest Hills Drive. I mean, this thing combined a leisurely style of jazz rap production with, at its best, a pretty strong element of narrative and storytelling, which, again, I think is one of J. Cole's strengths. Like, when he wants to, he can be very good at it. But it is kind of hard to deny that overall his actual rapping is just pretty average, like, painfully average, actually. Like, there's never really much energy in his vocal, at least for me. That's, like, kind of how I receive it, and his lyricism at his worst, yeah, it can be kind of fake deep, and I try to refrain from calling things fake deep, but sometimes there's just a lack of a better term to describe the cliche use of vocabulary that artists like this sometimes have. And I mean, what really constitutes something as fake deep is subjective. It's up to the listener to decide. But going back to what I said in the beginning of this review, sometimes I tend to think that people don't really take certain things that he says seriously because it's J. Cole that's saying it, which is harmful. And I mean, his lyricism on this album kind of delves into questionable territory, which honestly makes me draw the conclusion that KOD is his worst album thus far. And I'll get into more specifics later in this review, but also it carries a greater sense of pretentiousness. I mean, just look at the fact that the only fucking feature on this album is J. Cole with just an obnoxious vocal approach, like, tacked onto it. Like, we know you don't want to incorporate features into your album if you really want to just, like, ignore everyone's criticisms of your music and suggestions that you should add features, which are completely valid. Like, I feel like you're just in denial. I mean, why are you directly addressing it like this? Like, it's very clear that you would benefit from it. It's just bitter as fuck. Like, the whole "I'm too good for this" thing just really rubs me the wrong way, and it even pops up in other lyrical moments on this record too. Also, conceptually, this thing is just all over the place. I mean, if this thing is supposed to be about how mental illness and addiction go hand in hand with each other, how do you explain Photograph and The Cutoff and Motivate and ATM and Kevin's Heart? Production-wise, this album is a little bit more trappy than J. Cole's past efforts, but honestly, like, I cannot name a single beat on this entire fucking album that actually got me hyped up. Like, I can't. It just reads as, like, a generic cross between trap rap and jazz rap and just leaves no impact on me whatsoever. Like, it's really lazy, and it really takes away from this album's impact and replay value. Like, there is no replay value here. Anyway, just diving right into the digestible content of this album, the intro track is kind of like this jazzy trip that raises the warning that, like, if you don't choose the right way to deal with your pain, it can ruin your life, which actually I think is a pretty good way to set the conceptual tone of the record. But the fact that it just trails off so far from this for like 6 tracks in the beginning of the record just makes me wonder, like, why was it placed here? It doesn't really make any sense. It doesn't, now? Why are you introducing a concept you're not gonna address until like the midway point? Like, anywho. I still thought that the whole sentiment was one of, you know, his better lyrical moments. Anyway, moving on to KOD. This is a pretty much just entirely trap-style banger, and I will admit that the hook is pretty catchy. Like, I think that he pulled this one off. And, you know, the verses are acceptable and whatever, but of course he had to bring up the fact that he doesn't need features because, you know, he's a god that can do it all himself, and also, and the strongest drug of them all, love. Just, you know, that's one of those lines that it's hard to say isn't fake deep, because how many fucking times have we heard that before? I feel like sometimes with albums like this, I feel like I'm just reading through, like scrolling through a Post Malone parody account on Twitter, and then Photograph is just a series of shallow statements about some girl that J. Cole vaguely knows online and seems to be infatuated with, and you know, the whole thing just, again, it comes across, it's one of those moments that puts a bad feeling in my stomach. He's like, yo, she's not like other girls, sexy but doesn't show too much, and she doesn't get caught up in rumors about who's fucking who. Like, is it really that uncommon that a girl would do that? Like, oh my god. And again, the beat's super boring. I mean, it's just this kind of like wailing, ringing synth and an 808 drum thrown on top of it, and the cutoff, the mixing kind of pissed me off a bit. Like, I wish the keys were amped up a bit more. It's just the drums are just like so in our face, and I wish that, you know, I just feel like the jazz rap style of production suits J. Cole's delivery so much better, and like just the style of music that he's going for. I don't really think he can pull off the trap thing personally, with a hook that just makes me want to die. Give me drink, give me smoke, give me the. And another lyrical moment that just put a bad feeling in my stomach, like fucking again, it just feels very like manipulative and kind of possessive. It's like, I love you so you belong to me, and your punishment is that you're not with me and I want to make you feel pain. It's like, is no one else hearing this? Like, it just comes across as so, like, fucking toxic. Like, why does he think that he's entitled to this one? I mean, I don't know the situation, but, like, come on, dude. ATM and Motivate, I don't really think you should overthink. I mean, ATM, I kind of like the production. Again, I wish the keys were a little bit more prominent, but I think it's one of the smoother, more pleasant cuts here. And Motivate, I mean, it just sounds very generic and derivative of a lot of the other trap that's out there right now. Kevin Hart is a reference to Kevin Hart's cheating scandal, and I mean, conceptually, again, I have no idea why this track is on this album placed where it is. I mean, it's just about the temptations of cheating, I suppose, and the way he makes it sound makes it seem like the person in question like has no choice but to cheat, which I just think is a fucking stupid way to deliver the message. Like, what do you really... Now, from here, the album kind of takes a turn and has some genuinely lyrically compelling moments. I mean, the single verse on Once an Addict and the second verse on Brackets are probably some of the most genuinely thought-provoking and compelling moments lyrically of the entire album. I like Brackets conceptually, kind of raising this question of like, I don't get to choose where my tax dollars go, and it's fucked up that's funding all of this bullshit, but like, when he said, let me choose where my tax dollars go from an app on my screen because it's 2018 or like whatever the fuck. It's like, why do we keep coming back to this concept that you really have nothing to add to the conversation about? But anywho, Once an Addict is actually probably like my favorite lyrical moment on this record. I think that the way that he talks about how his mom's addiction and how like she's calling him high and like he just wants to escape to college to get away from this shit, even though he feels that it'll never truly end, and the way her behavior has affected him, it's like genuinely a really heart-wrenching moment. And I think that Friends is a genuinely pretty compelling lyrical moment for the album as well. I mean, it just delves pretty deep, honestly, into addiction's effect on someone and all of the factors that can contribute to someone developing an addiction for some sort of drug. And for the most part, you can tell that Cole's delivery is more passionate on this track than some of the previous cuts that were addressing similar things, and so I think that this is one of the album's stronger points. And I did kind of see people on Twitter making fun of the bar, like, meditate, don't medicate, and writing it up as, you know, classic J. Cole fake deep. But I don't know, like, necessarily, it didn't really, like, bother me that much. I don't really think that it's meant to be taken, first of all, that seriously or that literally. I think it was just kind of like a general thing that can be like applied to a lot of different situations. I don't really think that he meant like literal meditation, but maybe that's just me. I could be wrong. Anywho, Window Pane is another one of those tracks. It's conceptually like pretty strong. It does go along with the theme of the album, kind of bringing up the effects of this little girl's cousin getting shot and how she feels about it. But the whole part where the question is raised about like, why do bad things happen? You know, it just feels, again, like kind of cliche. Like, I've definitely heard this shit before, and I guess in its context, it does come across as a little, it does like have a little bit more conviction, just like based on where it's placed in the song and up like the verse that came before it. But still, you know, it does kind of come across as a little bit fake deep. Again, I actually like the beat on 1985 a little bit better than a lot of the rest of the production on this album, which I know I've like kind of not really covered much of the production on this album again, but like it's just all so mediocre, like holy shit. But anyway, yeah, no specific moment I like could genuinely say is like, oh, that's cool, that's like a cool sonic moment. Like, no, this project has none of those, at least in my opinion. But 1985 also is the infamous like Lil Pump diss track that Lil Pump responded to, and it was like this whole big thing and like whatever. And I appreciate a lot of the points that J. Cole is making. I think that he definitely, like, his argument makes a lot of sense, and Lil Pump should probably fucking listen to this fucker. But still, like, the way that he comes across in this track, like, he says, like, I respect you, I won't talk down on you, but then he kind of turns around, and that's, like, exactly what he does on a few of those bars. And I don't really know why he's acting like some sort of saint or, like, the god of rap. Like, he knows everything, and he's passing down his wisdom to Lil Pump. Even though it is true J. Cole has, like, more substantive material than him, he still, like, comes across with this just, like, superiority complex that I'm just not digging at all. Still, though, I do definitely think that conceptually this is maybe, like, one of the best moments of the entire album, and yeah, I guess I just wish that it was approached a little bit differently. But I will say that he shines on this track when he says these white kids love that you don't give a fuck. That's exactly what they expected when your skin's black. They want to see you pop a pill. They want to see you tatted from your face to your heel. And when he said, I must say by your songs I'm unimpressed, but I love to see a black man get paid. Whew. On the whole, I mean, this record to me is kind of a jumbled mess that sonically I can't take anything away from, and lyrically it's just, you know, all the fuck over the place, just trying to do so much at once, and there's not really much of a cohesive theme. You can say addiction, yes, he does address that in the second half of the album pretty thoroughly, but it's still just, I don't know. And I didn't really think that I hated this project this much until I reviewed this album. Like, I literally started this review off saying, like, yo, give it a fair shot, which I do think, but he didn't do it here, for me at least. I would much rather listen to For Your Eyes Only or 2014 Forest Hills Drive, to be honest, so I'm gonna give this thing, I guess, a 3.5 to a 4. I'll decide when I, like, officially put that into my notes where I keep track of all the scores I give albums for the year. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this review, and I will see you in the next one.